So with the human body method, we don't use the terminology like soul, urge, or expression, or personality, or destiny. They're all a little bit esoteric and can sometimes be a little too confusing. So a life path and a destiny, to me, they sort of sound like the same thing, right? So how do I differentiate if there's different numbers in each? What the human body method teaches is that we assign those numbers to parts of the body. And that has come with some really powerful learnings and really unique things to this particular method of interpretation. So, our life path number is our heart number. So, it's right at the core of our chart. It's sort of that foundational centerpiece of everything. The soul urge we put in our head, so we call that our head number. It sort of rules what our aspirations and our thoughts and our way of thinking and seeing the world is. Our expression number is all about sort of what we do and how we manifest and what our skills and talents are. We call that our hands number. So that is what we can physically manifest and do with our hands in the world. And then our personality number, we call that our legs number, because that's where us as a person touches and meets the world. And that's how the world sort of sees us, through that personality number. So using these different methodologies to sort of assign them to human body has really helped me understand how they play out in different areas.
Hey beautiful soul, I'm Hayden Crawford, your host and soul guide here at the Dreamtime Academy, a cosmic mystery school for starseeds and truth seekers, just like you, who are looking at rediscovering your inner wisdom for a life of more freedom, joy and purpose. Now, before we dive into today's episode, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to this channel and click the bell for future notifications so that you never miss one of my podcast episodes of either the Numerology Show or Cosmic Conversations, or indeed some of my transmissions, which will help to activate the next layer of your spiritual awakening. I'm the author of the Starseed Ascension Guide and the Cosmic Family Oracle cards, both designed to help you to reconnect to your higher self and remember who you truly are. If you want to dive deeper, we have an online membership portal called the Oversoul Codex Collective, where you can join a like-minded group of starseeds from all across the planet as you delve into courses in numerology, colour therapy, and cosmic consciousness as well. You can also support this channel by becoming a member, either as a soul spark or a codex keeper. If you're feeling the call to join us together in person, then we also host consciousness expanding retreats in Perth, where you can really start to experience this incredibly immersive work within community environment. Once again, your support really helps this channel to grow, so thank you for joining this team of galactic lightworkers from all across the planet, helping to expand consciousness and bring light into the darkness. So welcome back to the Numerology Show, where we explore the magic, mystery and mastery of numbers and how they shape our lives, our purpose and our potential. Today, I'm thrilled to be speaking with MathWitch, aka Liz Clarke, a gifted numerologist and intuitive guide whose work blends the ancient science of numbers with a deeply spiritual, heart-centered approach. Through her platform, Liz actually offers transformative readings, intuitive guidance and personal development services that help people understand their soul contracts, their life cycles, and their unique energetic blueprint. Her approach goes far beyond simply calculating numbers. She brings a magical, almost alchemical touch to numerology, one that integrates intuition, energy work, and deep personal insight to help people activate their highest potential. Whether you're brand new to numerology or a seasoned number lover, you'll find this conversation inspiring, empowering, and maybe a little bit life-changing, hopefully. So welcome, Liz. It's absolutely a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much, Hayden, for that beautiful welcome. I don't think I could have summarized my offerings as articulately as you just did. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for that. Well, I've been doing my research on you, and I'm a big
Amazing.
fan. I'm a big fan, and I often find, that some of the more unknown or undiscovered numerologists, the more humble ones, are the best ones as well. So, I'm sure you've got a lot of information to share with our audience today. But I always like to start the podcast off with a journey into your own personal way of finding yourself into numerology. Did it find you, or did you find it? And what inspired you to blend it with your magical, intuitive approach?
It certainly found me. It found me at a very difficult crossroads of my life. And I think for many people that it takes that dark night of the soul and that deep questioning to open yourself up to something mystical or magical or something outside of the realm of your normal understanding. So for me, I was a very conservatively raised person. I was raised by a nurse and a mathematician. That irony is not lost on me. Definitely was raised around numbers. I was always pushed with maths, and naturally, as children who are pushed to do something, don't particularly ever want to do that thing. And I rebelled as much as possible against the world of mathematics and my father's teachings, and ended up doing a law degree at university, which I understand is a pretty tame version of rebellion, but that was me rebelling against the maths and that sort of pull towards numbers that I actually knew was in me, but I think I just wanted to separate myself from that traditional mathematical understanding. So I worked, I studied law and I did some legal training at the Aboriginal Legal Service. I then worked in tertiary education, sort of as senior management, student recruitment. I traveled significantly through South Asia. So really sort of got to know some of those incredible mystical the heritage of the Hindu culture, of Buddhism throughout Southeast Asia. But it wasn't until I reached that dark night of the soul that I was ready to find it for myself. And that night, it was only a few years ago, and I think I'd been running from a lot of things in my life, and I was chronically ill. I was completely burnt out. I was in a career that wasn't really lighting my soul on fire, and I came across a numerology online calculator, and I put my name and date of birth in, and it pops up with a master 11. And now people love to be told that they're a master. I think it's sometimes a bit misunderstood in numerology. I think people think, ooh, a master number, that means I'm special, that means this, that, or the other. And I think that's something that I definitely thought, oh, I'm a bit special in that moment. But it really, it took a lot more sort of understanding of numerology before I really got what it was to embody that master number. And we can get sort of more into that later. But it was pretty much that first night. I ran my chart. I was absolutely bowled over by the accuracy of some of the numbers. I was also a little bit terrified by the accuracy of some of those numbers because it showed some of those shadowy elements of me, not just the positives. And Hayden, in preparation for our conversation today, I actually went back and found that page of my journal from that night where I had discovered it, and I've got scribbling writing everywhere. And it was that night I actually wrote down MathWitch. I kind of knew that that was the identity that I wanted to have. I loved that the M and the W kind of reflect each other, and putting them together is my business logo, and it creates the rune of Daggars, which means illumination, as does the 11. And I was like, this all makes sense. This is all right. And furthermore, I think it really started bringing me around to that concept of the soul contract and why I chose to incarnate in this moment. And when I was going through these difficult periods, I was in that really negative sort of self-centered way of thinking, being like, no one would have chosen this incarnation. This is ridiculous. That's unfair. That's victim blaming. But it made me stop and think, oh, maybe this is why I was raised in the particular family I was raised in. I was raised to love numbers, but it took a bit of rebellion from the traditional number sort of practice to be able to really see how that fit into my life and how that worked for me. So that Dark Night of the Soul was a few years ago, and it took me a bit of time before I managed to go through my studies. I studied online with my teacher, Tom Eckert. He's based in Berlin and is a phenomenal numerologist, and I pretty much haven't looked back since. So yes, that's my sort of numerology origin story.
Well, it's amazing. That's what it is. It's fantastic that, you had to go through all of that, in order to find your way or it to find you.
Yes.
And for you to identify yourself as a math witch, in so succinctly, so quickly, and
Yeah,
it's really helped to shape the services that you offer, hasn't it? And
absolutely.
how do you find that you are incorporating that sort of witchy, magical, alchemical aspect into your own personal numerology practice then?
It's funny, someone recently told me that they think that the name MathWitch is actually prohibitive to my business because people are scared of witches or that witches have a connotation of negativity. And I think that witch wound is so key still for so many people. And it's something that people who have these extrasensory or intuitive or spiritual sort of sentiments are taught from a very early age to suppress that, or not to listen to that. And we operate in this sort of above the shoulders headspace where we're really pushed to think, not to feel. And it's not until I started really learning how to feel things in my body and make decisions from an intuitive place that my life started falling into a much more rhythmic movement. And it was like, wow, I can't believe that I'd never really, I've been suppressing these like huge powers for such a long time. And so I do understand some people might be put off by the concept of a math witch. But I think it's important. I think it's important to embrace the weird, the woo-woo, the unexplainable, because that's kind of where you find the magic.
100%. And it's so interesting as well that that you embody the 11 as your life path, and but then you also have that practical sort of managerial 8 alongside of that as your gift, as your day number. So you kind of have one foot in both worlds, really, and that would explain that sort of early journey that you went through of studying law and then going into like the recruitment aspects and the business and all of that before you then embraced your spiritual purpose as a guide. So is that what you feel like you are now? Is that what your purpose is? Is it to be a guide for humanity as we evolve into the new earth?
Absolutely. I mean, I would love that to be my life's work, and I've never done anything in my life that makes my heart sing as much as this. I will have a reading with someone and I feel like I get more out of it than they do sometimes. Like I really love that element of dropping those walls and being vulnerable with people who I've only just met, being able to show them elements of them that I see that they may not see, and I think that that can be absolutely like earth shaking, glass shattering. It can be profound and scary. And I think coming from the background that I've had, both from a work perspective, but also from my own personal sort of journey, I think I come with a very trauma-informed background. I have I'm able to sort of relate very well with people from all walks of life. And I used to see that as a personality flaw almost, that I was such a chameleon that there wasn't anything there at the core. And now I see that that's actually my superpower, and I'm able to connect with such a broad range of different people. So it's honestly been such a joy. But also I understand that eight is still in me, and I don't ever want to drop one part of my personality to pursue blindly another path. And I really think that that's one of the most profound things about numerology is learning that all aspects of your chart have signification. They all are going to mean different things at different times, or really come out in certain instances. And so it's learning what all of those means and then how to marry them together into this glorious combination of you.
Yeah, 100%. And it's so interesting as well that, the 11 in the color mirrors is this bottle here, which is called duality. And you mentioned the word illumination before,
Yes,
which actually was a word that came to me last night when I was struggling to sleep, because the next retreat that we're running is called Duality, and it's over September the 11th. And
interesting.
there's a couple of places left on that retreat where people haven't bought. Normally we sell out. And I was thinking, oh, I wonder if it's because it's called duality, because it's quite a confrontational word. And I was thinking I might change the name of the retreat to Illumination.
Emanation.
Isn't it interesting? Because it would be it's a lot lighter. So that was a nice little confirmation there for me. But it's also triggered a question that that I wanted to ask you specifically about your own shadows of the
Hmm.
11. So you mentioned that, you're an empath, you're able to identify with just about everybody. It's your superpower. Is that because you've delved very deeply into your own shadow? And if so, what are your shadows, if you're happy to share?
Yeah, yeah, of course. I think embodying a master number, any master number, be that the 11, the 22, 33, ongoing, there's always a duality to a master number. You're vibrating on that higher frequency, but also when you're in shadow, you tend to embody the more darker elements of that lower frequency. So I feel for me personally, there was always this sense in me that there was something bigger I should have been doing, something more, something on a grand scale. And although I was being objectively successful in my career, my chosen career, I knew there was something else, and I just didn't know what it was. And that really created an ongoing sense of frustration. And I think frustration is a theme that anyone that has a master number in any part of their chart, particularly in that core, because it is such a big driver of life. But anywhere in the chart, a master number will bring that frustration because there is this immense power, this immense potential, but it is so, so rare to find anyone who's able to really continuously live in that higher vibration. So for me, I found that I was living in the shadow of the two. I was deeply anxious. I was very wanting to be hidden, but also part of me kind of wanted to be illuminated and shown and out there and in a sort of more public facing context. And that's a really hard duality to embody because they are fundamentally diametrically opposed. And it's I think I can't say that I am 100% free of those shadowy elements of the two. I think that's my life's journey is always going to be working out how to sort of fluctuate between those two energies when needed. For me, in terms of the shadow, I have had, I had quite a challenging childhood and am estranged from parent, and I think I was trying to fit myself into that box that wasn't at all who I was, and be the person I thought I should be and live in a more sort of masculine energy. Whereas most of my numbers are very sort of fluid and feminine and don't fit well into those sort of modern boxes. I think as well, in terms of shadow, I have quite strong fives in my chart. So I've got a five in my hands, or my expression number, in my personality number as well. So I could see a lot of shadow playing out in that I wasn't taking responsibility. I was subject to addictive tendencies in all areas of my life, whether that be substance like alcohol or like exercise as well, or, travel. I was addicted to anything. I was filling those holes with the wrong things. And it wasn't until I really started to understand that that's just going to be a part of me and I need to channel that energy into a healthy avenue before I really started feeling like I was actually living as I was meant to be.
Mm. And what about the lighter aspects then of the 11 in you? What how does that present itself?
I think I'm natural leader, and that's something that I probably have struggled to admit previously because it feels a bit icky to sort of promote myself as a leader. But I notice in any group that I'm in, I'm sort of the one that joins people together. I'm the first to recognize similarities in people and connect them. I pride myself on being a connector and, spotting talents in people and highlighting other people for showcasing. I love that personality trait of mine, and I think I used to think, oh, I'm so lucky to have all of these wonderful friends, but I realized that luck doesn't really come into that at all. It's you, and it's who you are, and they're attracted to that light. And that's something I think is really beautiful about the 11. I also I've always sort of had this deep intuitive pull that I've completely ignored throughout my earlier years and certainly throughout my early 20s as well. But I can, now that I understand how intuitive and how sort of spiritual and psychic and connected that 11 can be, I look back through things that I had done that were seemingly left field and weird choices for me previously. But I now think, oh, that was that intuition. That was that 11 pushing me for that. I just didn't know it at the time. And it's taken years, decades even, for that illumination to come and show me exactly how I've gotten to this point on my path.
Mm. Now, talking about the number 11, we can also, notice that a lot of people, when they first start waking up, they start seeing the number 11 and or the 1111 or the 111. Was
Yes.
that how it happened for you as well? Did you start seeing that, or was it different number sequences? And has it drawn you into identifying and exploring them deeply?
Definitely. So I did used to see 1111 a lot, and it was always an automatic thing. I'd see it and say, make a wish. But it was almost like a childish sort of thing. It was like not really a full understanding. It was just a bit of a novelty. And when I discovered that my life path was an 11, that's when it just like 11s were hitting me like a freight train, honestly. They were coming at every angle. And I was like, how have I not noticed or seen this before? One of my most favorite 11 coincidences is around my favorite number. And I try not to play favorites with numbers, but my favorite number has always been 164. Weird choice. It was my favorite number well before I could count to that number. I've got pictures from, preschool drawing that number, and I couldn't count that high, and yet that was my number. It has always been me, and of course, 1 + 6 + 4, it adds up to 11. I realized that at the time when I was sort of going through my dark night of the soul, I was living at number 29. I now live at number 38. The 11s have they keep coming at me. And now instead of trying to seek a desperate meaning from things, I sort of tend to err away from angel numbers and whether they have a universal meaning. I think it's much more personally connected to what those numbers mean for you and for your chart. So now when I see the 11, it's kind of just like a little nod from the universe, just to be like, yes, this is right. This is what you should be doing. You're following the right things. Continue on that path.
I love that. Now, you also mentioned a few of the other master numbers when we started talking about the number 11, be it the 22 and the 33. Now, I'm fascinated by the master numbers, and in previous shows that I've done, we've kind of touched upon different ones, but we haven't really gone deeply into the number 22 over 4. Is that a
Mm.
number that you're familiar with, that you resonate with? You know, the master builder, it must be quite close to your heart, being an 11, because the two often, are quite similar in a lot of ways, but obviously quite significantly different because of the 4 aspect of the 22. So how do you
Absolutely.
personally interpret the energy beyond the textbook definitions?
The 22-4 is a funny one for me. I have a fundamental lack of fours in my chart. Four does not really come up for me anywhere. But I am surrounded by people who have 22 fours in them. And I see for me that I'm attracted to that power, whether it be a conscious attraction or not. My closest friends have 22s in their hands number or their expression number. My father has a 22 in his head number. There are 22s all throughout my life. But I think it's an interesting master number, and I actually think it's possibly one of the most challenging master numbers to embody. And I'm not sure about you whether you found this as well, but I often find that 22 fours, when they're living more in that shadow, the frustration is more significant than that of the 11 or the 33. And I think it's because all master numbers have this inherent wisdom or inspiration from above, this perceptiveness to something bigger and extrasensory. But the 4 doesn't have that really. The 4 is so structured, it's so grounded, it's so drawn to the material and the physical world. And I think that's the biggest gap of a master number, sort of higher and lower frequency. That, the 2, the 11 too, I think there's obviously some differences, but I can see there's still those deep sort of spiritual connection of those two numbers. Whereas I find the 4 is so structured and can be quite rigid and organized and boundaried. But that 22 asks that 4 to open up so much bigger and for those boundaries to be blown down and to be given to all of humanity. And so that dual frequency is hard to regulate. It is so hard to be able to naturally flip between those two frequencies.
Mm.
And I really feel for people who have a 22 in a core part of their chart and don't have that nurturing from an early age as how to embody that power and how to embrace that power. And often I find when I'm doing readings with people who have that somewhere in their chart, they've spent a lot of time butting their head against a wall, really not knowing how to wield that enormous power that they have.
Yeah, it's so true. My mum actually has a 22 over 4 as a day number. And
Mm,
she very much worked in the more practical aspects of the 4, but always has that beautiful intuitive counseling aspect and always wanted to do, the softer aspects of the 22, but never actually got around to doing it because she was living in survival mode. Master
of
number, sorry,
course.
ruling 10 as well. So she ends up having her own cleaning business and food business, for years. And that's how it expressed. But there's always been this very unfulfilled part of her, that never stepped into it. So I can identify with what you're saying there with the 22 over 4. I think it's definitely a challenge for anyone really. And I often find that they go into working either for if like they are living in the fullest aspect, they work for charities, humane
Yes.
organizations, or organizations that work towards the betterment of humanity, don't they?
Exactly. And I think that is the point of the Master 22 for is it's the master builder, but it's not building for themselves and it's building for the greater collective. It's building for humanity. And when they're in that world and they're aligned with that, their potential is astronomical. They can do such good. But when that master building is being used for more selfish purposes or for the more sort of small scale, self preservation, I suppose, or for making money or for sort of less humanitarian purposes, that's where the 22-4 can start to be a little bit tricky, I have found personally.
Yeah, 100%. And it can lead to losses, financial, even like bankruptcy or anything like that that can come up.
Exactly, because well, I mean, the bigger the reward, the bigger the risk, isn't it? So they do tend to sort of suffer in the extremes as well as being able to build in the extremes.
Mm. Now, you mentioned different parts of the chart, if an 11 or a 22 shows up in different parts of someone's chart. For people who are new to numerology, can you explain what you mean? And like, where can it show up?
Absolutely. So this is something that this part of numerology is actually really dear to my heart, and it's something that has really I've learned a lot through my studies is that a number can represent things, and that's indisputable. We know that, a one is a masculine energy, it's individualistic, it's entrepreneurial, it's got all of those qualities. But a one in your life path number might mean something very, very different to a number in your soul urge or in your expression number. And the type of numerology that I studied, I'm a Pythagorean numerologist, so Western numerology, as are you, Hayden?
Yeah.
Yeah. But my particular study was under Tom Eckert, who is a student and teacher of the human body method of numerology. Now, I'm Australia's only human body method trained numerologist, so it's not super well known here, but I actually think it's really, really helpful in starting to explain to people about those different aspects and different parts of the chart. So with the human body method, we don't use the terminology like soul urge or expression or personality or destiny. They're all a little bit esoteric and can sometimes be a little too confusing. So a life path and a destiny, to me, they sort of sound like the same thing, right? So how do I differentiate if there's different numbers in each? What the human body method teaches is that we assign those numbers to parts of the body. And that has come with some really powerful learnings and really unique things to this particular method of interpretation. So, our life path number is our heart number. So, it's right at the core of our chart. It's sort of that foundational centerpiece of everything. The soul urge we put in our head, so we call that our head number. It sort of rules what our aspirations and our thoughts and our way of thinking and seeing the world is. Our expression number is all about sort of what we do and how we manifest and what our skills and talents are. We call that our hands number. So that is what we can physically manifest and do with our hands in the world. And then our personality number, we call that our legs number, because that's where us as a person touches and meets the world. And that's how the world sort of sees us through that personality number. So using these different methodologies to sort of assign them to human body has really helped me understand how they play out in different areas. So I have a nine in my head or my soul urge. So my aspirations are very humanitarian. My way of thinking is very non-judgmental, very open, very sort of forgiving and willing to let go and to move on. That would be very different if I had the nines in my hands, for example. That would be a different way of seeing that nine because that nine then would be all about my skills and my abilities and my way of doing things. So they are subtle differences, but I think the more we understand in numerology and the more we go deeper into a chart analysis, it's critical to understand that numbers do form different manifestations in different parts of the chart.
100%. And the way you've just explained that makes perfect sense to me because I still struggle with that. Years into numerology, I sometimes think, well, like how's the destiny different from the life
The
path? And
life path.
you know,
I know.
what is that all about? It's like it just confuses me, but it makes it a lot more digestible and almost more practical when you align it with body parts, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And then it allows as well for us to go into different aspects of our chart and to look at them in combination. So I never look at just a number and say, oh, you're a seven, and these are the things that that means. I look at the different numbers in different locations and how they work together. I'm always looking at number combinations and the harmony or the disharmony or the opportunities or challenges that that might be. So if I have a client that comes to me and he's saying, "Oh, I'm just miserable in my career, I don't know what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah," I will look at their head number and their hands number because we're looking at their thoughts, their ideals, their aspirations, but also what they can actually do. And sometimes people might have, say, a nine in their head. So these grandiose ideas, these humanitarian, like wanting to change and save the world, but they might embody a two in their hands. And so they might not actually have the means and the mechanism to be able to do those things. Now, that's not to say that they're not going to be able to change the world, but it's about understanding the synthesis between the nine and the two and working out what that sort of means for them and how that can actually be put into a career perspective, because that then gives them the tools as well to actually make some practical changes and move forward with the information that I'm giving them. It's not just some esoteric sort of archetypes of what their numbers mean.
Yeah, it gives them action steps, which is so important because that's why a lot of people seek a numerologist out, because they feel stuck in their life. They don't know how to move forward into their purpose, and they need to know clarify what the purpose actually is. And so I love that you look at the combinations of numbers and how they interrelate and interact with each other. It's making a lot of sense to me, actually. So that's wonderful. I'm learning something. That's what I always like. So
Good.
I'd be interested for you to maybe just explore then, just as a quick segue, based
Sure.
around what you've said, my chart. So I was born on the 16th of October, 1972, which means I'm a life path number nine with a
Hmm.
day number or karmic number 167. And
Hmm.
my complete name number, I guess you'd call that your personality, is a 10. So it's the one. It goes back to the one. So just based around those. What does that say, and how do those numbers interact and correlate with each other?
That's a really interesting one, Hayden, because the one and the nine are at the opposite ends of the scale. So both of them, there are a lot of similarities between the two. There's a lot of power, there's a lot of sort of forward momentum, but there's also a significant difference of one has that really individual focus and nine has that completely universal focus. So it might be sometimes a bit of a challenge to integrate those two when, your talents and skills are around that entrepreneurial sort of drive for discovery, for newness, for new beginnings, for change. Whereas that nine is probably anchoring you at your core and bringing you back to wanting to give more humanitarianly or to sort of share your teachings and your knowledge. Obviously, that nine is a beautiful teacher number. It's all about sharing and giving, constant giving without the expectation of return. But the one wants return. The one wants reciprocation. The one wants to be recognized and seen as an individual or unique and special in order to feel seen and to feel loved. So it's understanding that you will embody those two in that sort of space. I look at the so that would be your heart number and your hands number. I always look at that when I do a chart. That's the first thing I analyze is the interrelationship between the heart number and the hands number. It's not always something I go into with the client, but I think it actually gives me the best understanding of how they are integrated with themselves. So sometimes if I see someone with a heart one and a hands two, instantly I can tell that there's going to be friction in their self-integration because those are such fundamentally oppositional numbers. Same with maybe like a 4-5. If we look at someone like Donald Trump, 4-5 hands heart, massive conflict, violence, strong, aggressive personality. You can see that instantly in his chart. And so people that do have those disharmonious combinations, you can get a lot just from that really, really quick analysis of those two core locations of the body.
Yeah, absolutely. That's brilliant. And it's totally my story. I can identify with that 100%. Yeah. So what about
But
the
I love that though. Is that not the most beautiful thing about numerology is that that is your story and it's not something that you need to look to change or to fix. It's about how to integrate them. And there is never going to be any number combination that is impossible to make work.
Hmm.
It's really just about how to make that work and how to sort of fit that with your life and your goals and your experiences.
So what would be the action steps that you would then suggest for somebody with this combination?
So I think I guess it would depend what they're coming with. If they're looking for love, I think then my sort of my discussion would be quite different as if they're looking for a career. Or I do tend to really ask my clients questions before they come so I can look into the aspect of the chart that really resonates with them. If I met someone who was feeling a bit lost in their career and had that one and that nine sort of complete oppositions, but still that really powerful, that strong drive, if you're working in an administrative job or your sort of middle management and not feeling sort of sustained, I would say of course you're not, because you're not making those independent individual choices. You're not empowered to be a leader, to be visionary, to be a pioneer. Go out on your own, go find something that you can create yourself. Then that starts to bring in those elements of the nine, because if you're creating and you're doing these new beginnings and sort of living in that really sort of powerful one energy, you can still make that a humanitarian business. You can still be giving and you can still be that cycle breaker and changer. It really does depend on the client. And I think that's it's a bit of an annoying answer to your question, Hayden. I'm sorry, but it is so deeply dependent on what the person or who that person is and what issue they're coming to you with. And that's why my readings are never the same. All of them are different. I prepare deeply for everyone, but I never have a structure to how they go because I want to hear what that person is thinking and feeling. Where are they in their life? What are they wanting? Are they happy and just wanting to see what their chart says, or are they looking for a bit of guidance and direction? And that's how I sort of do the work that I do. It's very intuitive, based on the individual, and always will be.
I love that. That's so, so important, treating the individual holistically, because no two people are the same. And actually, you answered the question that I had anyway, because there is, I'm like you, I came out of the corporate world after
Mhm.
my midlife awakening and then, went into the more celestial aspects of color therapy and numerology. And I
Yeah,
had to have my own business because I was feeling like disempowered within the corporate world to be able to fully make decisions, and nothing that I
of
was doing
course.
was being of service. So I think that's possibly that interplay that you can see there between the one and the nine.
And the nine.
Yeah,
Yes,
which is wonderful.
absolutely.
Okay, so that's great. Thanks for using me as an example to be able to demonstrate and articulate the way in which that you do your readings, which is very different from a lot of the other numerologists that I've been interviewing on the show, interestingly enough. And everybody has a very unique slant to numerology, and no two people do it the same, but nobody's right. and nobody's wrong. It's just a different way of being able to offer information, hopefully that's going to be beneficial to the recipient.
Exactly.
Now, do you see then, just going back to the 22 over 4, do you see the 22
Mhm.
over 4 as a more of a challenging or more of an empowering for those who carry that as a life path, or a destiny number, or a head and a heart?
I do genuinely see the 22/4 as probably the most challenging
Yeah.
master number. And I think it's because that 4 is so tied to the physical material realm. And the 22 is so up in the clouds. And you know, with the 11 too, they're both a bit up in the clouds. You know, the 33/6, both a bit up in the clouds at times. That anchor of the 4 is really hard, and it brings it into the physical space. And I have never met a 22/4 in my readings that is living completely in that powerful 22 world. They are often boundaried, they are often anchored, and they are often frustrated. They are always, frustration is that core theme that runs through that number.
Mm.
It's that knowing and sensing that there is something bigger that I should and could be doing, but that inability, because they are living in that structured bubble of the 4, that they just can't see it. And
Mm.
I kind of love doing readings for people with master numbers, because I find that they can be the most powerful ones to shatter that glass and to help them really see that it's not just in their head, or an arrogance, or a an assumption of their own talent. It is in them. They have this ability, but let's now work out how to direct that into a healthy space, how to give for humanity rather than giving to oneself or one's family or one's immediate circle. And that's where that transformation really happens. But it is a hard one, let me tell you. And I don't think many people who embody master numbers in their core or in their sort of key areas of their charts would be functioning in that sort of top echelon or that top vibration naturally. Very few, I would say.
So when you've worked with clients with the 22 over 4, who feel that overwhelmment of or intensity of the responsibility that comes with that 24 22 over 4 energy, like how do you work, like how would you work with them? What would you suggest? Would you point them more towards a career where they are working towards the collective, rather than the individual?
Absolutely. I think any master number has an inherent need to give to the collective. I think that's the most unifying thread between all master numbers, is that it's here to serve humanity and not just to serve oneself. A very powerful 4 could be a phenomenal business manager or leader, could lead a family brilliantly, could do so much power in that smaller context. But if they're that 22/4, they need to have an avenue for greater giving to feel that fulfillment, or else that niggling feeling will never go away. So it's about directing them to find that why, to find that thing that lights them up, and then to make that a part of their everyday. Now, of course, like I was saying, we never just look at one number in isolation. So if I see this 22/4 core, but I see then that they've got a 6 in their head, so that beautiful love giving, that to me says, great. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to find something humanitarian. We're going to find a charity. We're going to find something that your core 4 organizational skills can then empower and benefit that bigger group of people.
Mm, beautiful. I love that. And that's how you can find two 22 over 4s doing very, very different occupations, because, you have to look at everything else that's going on within their chart. It's like the palm print, isn't it? It's like, you look at the lines on your hand,
Mhm.
because it's individual. And of course, the same applies to the numbers that each person has as well. So just because, another 11 or another 22 over 4, and they are doing their soul work and you're not, doesn't mean to say that you're off track, because you've got to look at the combinations that are going on.
Absolutely. And I find that really challenging when I see numerologists on like on social media who say these really black and white things about numbers. It hurts me when someone I was watching something recently with a very famous American numerologist who was saying that no one with a life past seven should get married. And I was like, that's insane. That's just the most wild concept to me that they would say that. Like, I get that there are elements of embodying a seven of your core that has you wanting that aloneness, that depth, and that that sense of solitude, and that's critical to a seven. There's no doubt about that. But to say that they should not marry or should not be in a partnership is wild to me. And I find it actually really diminishes the value of this incredible science to have those really clear black and white directives on any number. And so for anything, I always come back to it does a disservice to you and to the science to look at any part of your chart in complete isolation, because you're looking at a thing completely out of context.
Mm. I actually struggle with that myself when I do my lives on TikTok, because, I'm looking at the date of birth and I'm just picking out, day number, ruling number, personal year cycle, and looking at their arrows of individuality. So I'm trying to offer a lot of information, but I'm still not looking at everything. And of
I
course,
know.
so sometimes when I'm, sort of intuiting the information, I'm being too generic, and I know that, but until it's almost like you have to sort of condense sometimes and just look for PowerPoints of information that you can get people's intrigue so that they want to then
Absolutely.
explore it. But yeah, I often have that inner conflict myself when I'm doing it, because I'm like, well, you're not actually being 100% accurate in everything that you're saying, even though they're saying wow. It's it does sometimes do this industry a disservice. So
I
um,
think you've pretty much exactly summarized why I have such a small following on social media, because I really struggle to put up a video about what it means to be a life path one or whatever the number or location may be. I find it really challenging, but equally, and I've watched your TikTok lives are brilliant because they do give that. You've got the arrows of Pythagoras there, you've got the date of birth, you've got that first name sort of energy, the first letter number. Um, but but you're right, you're not giving the full amount, but also you can't because you're doing this in a live setting where someone's just giving you a small piece of information and that's what you're working on. So I think for me, I look to people like you to see how I can still show up authentically on social media and but also balance that with getting people interested, and hopefully that then translates to getting them as a client or a booking or something clutter further.
yeah, absolutely. Because you don't want to remain hidden, but at the same time, you want to make sure that that you're authentic and that you're offering value. So, I do think it is one of those issues that probably a lot of numerologists and astrologers come up against when they're putting themselves out in the public eye. And it's
Mm.
almost like, can you live with that sense of being disingenuous when when you're also trying to help people,
Exactly. And you're trying to make a living, right? Like
Yeah,
we're both pursuing this spiritual path as a career, and it's fulfilling, but it's also terrifying. I left my very well paid job to do this myself, and that has been quite confronting and challenging because I have to market it and I have to monetize it, and equally that feels kind of yuck to me. I kind of wish I could just give this information to everyone, but yeah, it's a
I,
balance with the spiritual community.
I hear you. I really do, and it doesn't get like any easier, I don't think, as the more you do it. Because I've been doing this about like probably 10 years now, and I've always gone down the line of, oh, it's an exchange, so it was an exchange of your time and your wisdom, and the that energy exchange is financial. However, the more I do it, the less interested I am in the financial aspects, and it's not because I'm well off or anything like that. It's just because I just feel like I'm more in alignment when I'm offering
Mm,
things, when I'm in the flow, and it's like I don't want to have that the other aspect of it sort of almost dragging the vibration of it down.
yeah,
So that may come up and stay with you for a while, and it may sometimes be good, and it may sometimes dip down. So you never really know like how you're going to be able to sort of process that, and it does change, but you'll find the right balance, and I think that's the key is just to find something that feels balanced within you. And even if it means offering something for free initially, and
of
until
course.
somebody then books a full Zoom session or private session with you. Now,
Yeah.
how does that feel for you? Did that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's exactly how I feel. And I still feel like I mostly am on Instagram, but I'm sort of moving into TikTok, and I still feel that I do show up authentically.
Yeah.
But yes, that is always in the back of my head is how to balance that commercial and spiritual, that
And that's
balance.
your that's your
It's a tough
eight,
one.
and you're 11,
That's
isn't
my
it?
eight. Yes.
Yeah, it is. And it's a very interesting, subject for numerologists. And I'm sure that many numerologists, if not all of them, and astrologers probably go through exactly the same thing because it's your passion work. But when you leave a corporate salary behind, like we both have, in order to continue doing this amazing work, and the wisdom that you've got is sensational. It's like you've got to be able to sustain doing it. And it's as simple as
Exactly.
that. And the people that will resonate with you will understand that, and they'll be more than happy to exchange financially, so it's never really
I
been
know.
problematic.
I'm always so funny about when I first started charging people, I went through like a real crisis of identity, and my husband's so much more rational and reasonable than me, and he's like, people want to pay you for this. It's a service. You're working. It's not just the hour reading you do, but it's the preparation beforehand. It's the years of study as well. It's so much more. And I honestly, I've never had a client question paying. It's never been a thing. It is all my anxieties and my worries. So yeah, I think as I grow in client base and confidence, I think that's something that will become a lot easier for me to manage.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've met a lot of numerologists now, and you're absolutely no different from any of them. You offer exactly, if not more, wisdom and value. And it's about like you as a person. You're very personable, you're very articulate, and you explain very difficult concepts very simplistically. So I know a lot
Thank
of
you.
people that watch this will be like, she's my go-to girl because she's kind, she's articulate, she knows her stuff, and she's not just all about the cash, and that's what people want, so that's beautiful.
Thank you. I
Now,
appreciate that.
no, I mean, it's like, I wish someone would say that to me. No one ever does though. They always go, yeah, just a fool. No, I'm gonna just,
You're the color guy though, with
yeah,
the
the
cool
color guy.
dogs. No, I
The
feel
color
like
guy with the cool dogs.
I deeply appreciate, like Hayden, I was saying to you before we started recording, like this is my first like podcast around numerology. This is my podcast debut, if you will. And I deeply, deeply appreciate that you are wanting to give a platform to other numerologists and other people in this space. And I don't think that that is always the norm in this community. I think I've certainly met both types. Some that really just want to say this is mine, and I want to sort of be the numerologist people think of, and you clearly aren't that person at all. You want to share this gift with as many people, and this is kind of where the magic happens, right? Like we might fundamentally disagree on an element of numerology, and or we might completely see the same. And I think that's the beauty of meeting other people in this space and working and sharing information extremely freely. I think that you're doing really amazing work by doing that and not being a gatekeeper to this incredible science. So I truly I thank you for that.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. Like that means the world to me, and it was always my intention, is to is to bring numerologists together for that very reason that you just mentioned, because there is spiritual snobbery within any community. And it's like, no, actually, we are a small community within a global, sort of space. And if we work together, then it's going to help raise the profile of numerologists across the planet and help us to all get taken a lot more seriously and to for it to
Yes.
be even a known subject because a lot of people still think that numerology is mathematics. But
I know. Do you know when I first launched MathWitch, my aunt thought I was starting a maths coaching business.
oh no.
And I was like, oh goodness, I'm not sure if I can let her down. She's a maths teacher as well, so I was like, I can't let her down and tell her that I'm actually a numerologist and not a maths coach. But anyway,
So to this day she still thinks you're a maths teacher.
I I think so, yeah. Yeah, but that's okay. Some people need to believe what they believe.
I love that. Now, I do want to touch upon another subject with you today before, obviously we go off on our separate ways, and that is the letter Y in numerology. Now, the reason why I'm
Yes.
asking you about this is because I recently had a second session with Lynn Buez. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard of
Hmm.
him before, but he's like the godfather of, or the grandfather of numerology. He wrote this amazing book. He's actually written 13 books in his very
Wow.
long career. He's an old boy now. Sorry, Lynn, if you're watching this, but um, it's called The Heart of Numerology, and it's a
Yes.
very interesting book. And he, in the book, he sort of blends the wisdom of cosmology and numerology together. And
Hmm.
one of the things that he brought up was the letter Y, and he's like, well, how do you interpret the letter Y numerologically? Obviously it's the seven, but do you see it as a vowel or a consonant in someone's name? And I've always gone down the path of it being seen as being a consonant unless somebody's name doesn't have a vowel in it. And
Hmm.
for my own numerology, I've got a Y in the name Hayden. I've
Yes.
always, not included that as a
Yes. I
vowel.
would count that as a consonant, but I would, in certain instances, count Y as a vowel. It's a tough one. When I sort of was trying to think about this, it like a lot of things in this space, it is a bit grey. But I do have a sort of set of rules that I generally follow, and I'd be interested to see whether it's sort of similar to the way you do it. But I tend to look at it the what purpose it's performing in a syllable. So I'm mostly looking syllabic. I'm not looking in necessarily the whole word. So for me, Hayden, hey is that first syllable. There's the A sound is the vowel sound. We've got the A, so therefore the Y would be a consonant. If I'm looking at Lin, though, uh, it's performing as a vowel, so it would be a vowel. There are some little nuances and exceptions to this, and it can be kind of a tough one. And I don't think it's any uh, accident that the letter Y is associated with the number seven, one of the deepest, most mysterious numbers, and of course it's homophone for the word Y, which is all about the search for meaning, and so I think there's a lot of coincidences. Maybe probably there's no coincidences, but it's yeah, it's interesting that that number embodies those sort of those tendencies. Is that sort of similar to how you look at Y? Is it more of a syllabic thing, or are you just broadly, it's always a consonant?
No, so I like how you've just described it as being syllabic, and that's a great new word. I'm going to definitely put that one in my
I don't know. Did I make that word up? Surely
No,
not.
it
It might be
sounds
a
good
word.
though.
Okay, good.
Going
Let's
in
go
my
with that.
vocab book, so that's great. But no, I've always just counted it as a consonant, not a vowel. And unless there isn't, the vowel present in the name. So, but I like because I know that with the vowels, it's all about the sound, so it's actually the vibration of the sound, and that hey, then it's got the A, so why would it need the Y? So yeah, so that would make sense because when I worked out the calculations based around it being a vowel, it
Mhm.
completely, I didn't identify, with the
Interesting.
information. I was like, oh, I'm going off numerology. I was thinking, oh, but how can I have been doing this for so long? And then now, I'm learning this new
Questioning
technique.
everything.
I'm like, this doesn't make sense. It's not me at all. I think it brought up, my soul edge or something as being a four. And I'm like, oh,
Yes,
and
definitely. You've definitely not a solid
it's
foe.
a
I can
six.
tell
I'm
you
a
that now.
Yeah, so it was, so it is interesting because a lot of numerologists that are watching this will go, what are they talking about? In traditional Pythagorean methods, the Y is always seen as but we can't look at it like that. I think that we've got to remain open-minded, and it's got to go back to the individual, doesn't it? And what resonates
Mhm.
with the individual.
Exactly. And I think there's a lot of examples of that, where like a small change in a chart can make a massive difference. And then that does sometimes have us questioning whether we're right or wrong or someone else is right or wrong. And I think I try and avoid the terms right and wrong generally because I feel like there's a morality element to it. We're sort of saying something's good or bad or whatever. It's just a different method of interpretation. I think so. I'm not sure about you, but it's slightly different. But when I calculate a chart initially, I use the full name from their birth name. So I look at their first name, middle name, and their birth surname. But then I'll create a secondary chart and I'll only have their first name and their surname. And then I'll create a tertiary chart that then has maybe a nickname or a married name or a change of name. And so I'll have multiple charts to sort of work with. And then when I'm having that conversation with a person and I can hear these anxieties that I don't see in their primary chart, but I can see in their secondary chart that I can see how those things are playing out. It's sort of a way of weaving multiple truths together. And so I guess that's a really long and roundabout way of saying that it's your truth, and it's the truth of the client and the person that you're working with. And if you're able to really get a sense of who they are and what they're wanting and what they're looking for, and then you will know what's the right one. You will inherently recognize what is correct and what is not. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would. But then I was accusing myself when I was doing that as almost cherry picking the information
Yeah.
that, and it's like, well, hang on a minute, that's not, that doesn't seem authentic either. So I'm still struggling with this. And that's why I wanted to have this conversation with you today. And it's something I think I'm going to bring into a lot of the conversations that I'm having moving forward because I want to be able to find some sort of resonance or peace with this because it is, it's an annoying letter. It's almost like I wish it never existed. I wish the
I
Y,
know.
it's a silly letter. Doesn't even need to be there.
Get rid of it. Absolutely.
Get rid of the Y.
Mind you, if we get rid of the way your name's Haddon, and I just don't know
Ugh,
if that really works, frankly.
no, and Lynn would be,
Mm.
I'd be like, no,
Yeah.
wouldn't
Nah,
work.
not ideal.
Well, we'll keep it. We'll keep it there.
Fine.
All right then. Well, look, I want to just find out if you've got any other practical or transformative insights that you would like to share with the audience today, because I know there's a lot of questions that we didn't get the chance to go through because we've touched quite deeply on specific subjects today, and I would like to invite you back in onto a future show where we can go into some more of the practical and transformative insights. But what
Absolutely.
what is if there's one thing that you feel like you haven't had the opportunity to share with the audience today that's going to be beneficial, that's going to help them, in their awakening process or to take guided action steps, what would that be?
Um, Gosh, it's probably hard to distill it down to a single thing, but I think something I probably say to most clients is like, this is your chart, and you don't have to believe in anything for this to be your chart. You can be a believer or not, but it is it is who you are in a numerological blueprint, and you can either work with it or you can work against it. And that's the choice that you'll make, not whether to believe or not, but whether to work with and work against it. And as someone who actively worked against their numbers for quite a while, I know how frustrating and how head banging that can be to be not flowing with who you are. But I also know how beautiful and how fun and easy and exciting life can be when you are in that flow with those numbers. And so that I think is my main takeaway is let me help you see what it is and how you can work with it rather than being someone that is constantly working against themselves.
Yeah, like pretending to be someone you're not. And we both know that, don't we? We both know what it's like to live a life feeling like you're living somebody else's life and not your own. And there's a tremendous amount of freedom that comes with, getting the information from it and then, doing what you want with it. But it's freed me,
Exactly.
and it's obviously freed you up as well, to be able to feel more fulfilled and purposeful in your life, which is an amazing thing to do. And I just really wish you like all the best of luck with everything moving forward with what you're doing. And it sounds to me like you're doing very thorough charts for people as well. So you're not just skimming the
Yeah.
surface. I love the fact that you are looking at those three different versions of a person's name and then bringing in the comparisons within the numbers and the different positions around the body. You truly offer something very unique to a lot of other
Thank you.
numerologists that I've spoken to. No offense to any of them, they've got their own interesting methods as well.
We've
Uh,
all got our way of doing things.
Exactly, we have, but you are very thorough, and a lot of people really, really want that, because it's just more information, isn't it? Ultimately.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's something that I think sometimes I'm a bit hard on myself. I'm like, I need to speed up this process because I'm going right into the weeds for every client. But honestly, that makes me feel like I'm really giving something to them. And it makes me also more confident and more in love with numerology as a science because it's almost like every time I have a client, I reconfirm how amazing this science is. It is just phenomenal, and we're so lucky to be learned in it and to be able to share that gift with people. So, yeah, I feel like I owe numerology an enormous debt, and it's something that I will always carry in the way that I work.
Yeah, I love that. Absolutely. It's beautiful. So where can people find you then? If they're like listening to you today and they're like, "Oh, she's great. I really like Liz." Where do they find you?
Absolutely. So I'm mostly on Instagram. So at MathWitch Numerology. I am very lightly dipping my toe into TikTok, and I am feeling more and more that that's where I'm going to find this beautiful community of like-minded spiritual people. So also at MathWitch Numerology. And my all bookings can be found on my website, which is mwnumerology.com. And so I offer sort of short 30-minute chart snapshot readings or full in-depth hour readings. I also have like discounts for return clients as well. So if people want to go into deeper aspects of their chart, that's something that I absolutely love to do is have a return client go down the numbers rabbit hole.
Beautiful. Oh, that's so, so good. And it's amazing, to know that you offer such a variety of different ways of people being able to initiate contact with you and to start working with you, which, suits all budgets as well, doesn't it? Which is great.
Exactly. Absolutely. I want to make it as accessible as possible for people.
Wonderful, wonderful. What a beautiful and illuminating conversation that we've had today with lovely Liz Clarke, MathWitch. Her approach to numerology reminds us that numbers are more than just mathematical facts. They're a living, breathing, and they're energies that guide us, inspire us, and empower us on our own soul's journey. And if you're ready to dive deeper into your own numbers, you can also find more tools, courses, and guidance at dreamtimeacademy.com. And my brand new book as well that's available on Amazon, the Starseed Ascension Guide, which takes you on a bit of a journey through the spectrum of color rays. Until next time on the Numerology Show, keep aligning with your numbers. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow me as well. And that helps to obviously get this podcast out to more people within the YouTube algorithm. It's greatly appreciated if you can share this podcast as well with people that you love in your life, who you feel maybe are a bit lost or, needing a bit of guidance right now. and keep trusting your path. And remember that your soul's code is written in the language of the universe. Until next time, Liz, thank you so much once again for being with me today.
Thank you, Hayden.
And we'll see you
It's
next
been
time.
really wonderful. I appreciate it so much.
Ah, you're very welcome. Bye for now.